Hey, Ira, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. How's everything going?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Everything's good. Summer's going way too fast.
Yeah, the whole year's going by fast.
It's it's more than halfway over. It's insanity.
It's unbelievable. And this is the pre-camp show that you wanted to do. I'm sure you saw some of the Aaron Rodgers interview clips today, and I'm not happy about it. What are your thoughts on just everything that he said? He basically said he's not committal till next year, so he may not even be back next year. We don't know.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. So he's not even worried about. He wouldn't say anything about next year.
Yeah, he wouldn't say anything about next year because they did ask him about it, and he said, yeah, he wanted to have two great years here, and he called it two back-to-back Super Bowls, which is kind of a little bit laughable because it's just, I mean, we got to get to the playoffs. Forget about the Super Bowl. We have to see you play now, but he was non-committal about next year. He just wouldn't give an answer.
Well, if I was that, did Tom Brady do that from year to year towards the end, or Rodgers has been doing that for a while?
I think Rodgers has been doing that for a while. Brady wants to come out of retirement now. He's so ready to get out of retirement, and there's Raider rumors that he might come out. I don't believe it now, especially with his contract as a broadcaster. But with Rodgers, I think he's just always hinting at retiring. Because remember the last game in Green Bay, he thought that was the last time he was going to play.
Yeah, well, once again, I mean, I don't trust him, and I mean, he's a free spirit, and he's going to say what he wants. He's going to do what he wants, and I mean, getting back to the whole mandatory mini camp, that whole story,
Yeah,
and you know how I felt. I think we spoke about it.
we did.
On the field, it's not a big deal. I just think, just PR wise, it could have been handled differently from both sides. But at the end of the day, as long as this guy plays 17 plus games, he could say and do what he wants.
Yeah.
If deep into January, then you know what? He could, like I said, then say whatever you want. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, I do hope he comes back next year because I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Jordan Travis because we did draft him. So I want to see what he's going to develop into. But then they're saying, well, we might get Deion Sanders' son. That's what they were saying in the papers today that, oh, well, we might replace Rodgers with him. We don't know. I'm hoping that Rodgers comes back another year. I really do. But it's up in the air at this point. And there's a lot of expectations this year, and there's a lot of holes. I mean, as far as Haason Reddick, that's another issue. They have not gave him that extension. There hasn't been any update on that. What are your thoughts on Haason Reddick's situation?
Well, once again, I think it could have been handled differently.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which side flinched or went back on their word, but at the end of the day, what I expect what will happen is he'll show up tomorrow, and then on Wednesday morning, my back is tight, my ankle hurts, my hamstring hurts, and he'll be working with the trainers, and I think he'll stay with the trainers until they come to some type of agreement, and if they can't, I think the Jets will have the upper hand because he's not going to turn down the money that he's due to play this season.
No, there's been rumors that they might trade him, and one of the rumors has been they could trade him to the Raiders to get Devontae Adams. Isn't it crazy, all these Devontae Adams rumors? It sounds like it's a done deal. I mean, with Rodgers being like, oh, I can't wait to play with him again, and then you have Breece Hall. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're kind of going in and out.
How about now?
That's better.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a little more. Again, this is just my feeling. I think the Adams deal is done.
Yeah.
I just whether he's a Jet late August, whether he's a Jet 5 minutes from now, or whether he's a Jet probably more towards the trade deadline. I think that's the way that thing goes down. But and I think I read somewhere that Adams even came out and said that he really only wants to play with Brady as a quarterback with the Raiders. So
yeah,
I think Adams' days are numbered with the Raiders, and I do believe he'll be a Jet at some point. And, it's funny. I was looking over the roster, getting ready for camp and stuff. And I'll tell you, I noticed the way this team has been constructed with a lot of some older players, 1-year contracts, most of these guys coming off injuries. But if everybody stays healthy, which is, that would be a miracle. But if everybody stays healthy through the summer, I just think everything's written in stone. I don't see where anybody could surprise anybody and take a job. I think this roster is about as solid as it could get.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, maybe another lineman or definitely a receiver because Alan Lazard, he's just unreliable. And then Mike Williams is coming off of ACL. I don't really see too many holes on this team.
No, I mean, the running back thing will be interesting to see, with Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis to see. I guess Izzy will probably be out of here, I would think. Because if you put him on the practice squad, he'll be scooped up. I think the safeties, okay, you could question. I'm not the biggest Ashton Davis fan. We'll see what Clark comes back from his ACL. The corners, are good. The offensive line, the depth, okay. A lot of those guys who we weren't too fond of last year, they did get a lot of experience. I could see them picking up like a guy like Conor McGovern or somebody else floats around to kind of upgrade the depth. With the Bakari thing, I don't think he's signed with anybody yet. I would expect him to be a Jet. But besides that, I just don't see where there's going to be any surprises.
No, I don't either. And this is an all-win now, and I really hope it's not a 1 year and done because we still have rookies under their contract like Breece Hall. You still got another year there to where before we have to start really talking extensions. So that's what I'm saying. If we don't get it done this year, Rodgers better be coming back because we still have players under contract that we could win this thing.
Well, he better be coming back if they don't win it this year because, like you just said, but unfortunately, there's a lot of guys on 1 year deals.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that's why I really truly believe the Adams deal is done. Of course, I just feel they know if they don't win the Super Bowl this year. This very much reminds me, even though, little circumstances different with quarterback with Sanchez, and of course you got a guy like Rodgers, a Hall of Famer. But in 2010, Tannenbaum, they rolled it back after the 2009, and they were all, that was the year, and we all know what happened in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And 7, unfortunately, because of the salary cap and the contracts and players getting older, Tannenbaum had to play the credit card because you could only keep on pushing back the money. And, I would expect at some point in the next couple of weeks, we're going to hear that Rodgers deferred more money, probably to bring over Adams and to get Reddick done. But at some point, you're going to have to pay Rodgers.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay him.
Yeah, so there you go. He better be coming back. Exactly.
And when you get this money, let's say Breece Hall, Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and I think I'm leaving somebody out. You're not keeping all of them.
No.
It's totally. And Garrett. Well, I think I don't know if I mentioned Wilson. There's no way in the world you could keep all of them. It's impossible.
No, you're not. It's insane. I really don't know how it's going to turn out with everything right now because, we have some tough decisions that we're going to have to make with the rookies. It's going to be difficult to really see what happens.
Well, that's why also, once again, Breece Hall, I put him a notch below Christian McCaffrey right now. Mm-hmm. Might have the potential to be better, maybe, to see how this plays out. But I think one of the reasons they drafted these two running backs is I think if Douglas is still around, I think the vision he has is, we win an AFC championship game or we get to the Super Bowl and win it or lose it or whatever it is. Now Breece Hall is going into his 4th year. He's going to want to get paid. And you're not going to pay a running back, $20 million. You're not going to do it.
No.
So I think that's why he drafted both of these guys. If that's the time comes, is I just don't know if Breece Hall is going to get a second contract from the Jets.
No. If you had to make the decision out of the 3 or even the 4 because of Jermaine Johnson, and you can only keep 2 out of the 4, who are you keeping?
Well, Gardner's a no-brainer.
Yeah, 100%. Shutdown corner.
Jermaine Johnson is an edge rusher. He's a no-brainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't pay all. I can't. And as much, it kills me to say it. He might. In a year from now, he could be the best running back or maybe the best offensive player in the NFL.
Yeah.
And very much like the Giants, you just can't break the bank for running backs in today's game because you got to pick quarterback. To me, you have your shutdown corner, you have your left tackle, you have your quarterback, and you have your pass rusher. Those are your 4 top salary cap hits.
Yeah.
After that, I'm sorry, running backs low on the totem pole for me.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens because, like you said, there were times last year, especially when Breece Hall came back from the industry, I did say that this guy's better than McCaffrey, and if it comes to that next year to where he's your top playmaker, I don't know. I think we may be sitting here having a different conversation. Be like, they got to keep this guy.
No, I want to keep him. I would love to keep him. It's just there's only so much money to go around.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
But that's why that's the key. Also, another key about winning the whole damn thing this year is because once you get that under your belt, people aren't going to care.
No,
they're not going to care. If the Jets win a Super Bowl this year, they're not going to care if Rodgers leaves, if Hall goes somewhere else, if Gardner retires.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. Except for that 1 year. This is 63 years.
Yeah.
I recently spoke with somebody who was involved with that Herman Edwards group, and I have 2 hats on my shelf in the den, and it's the 98 AFC East Championship hat. It's the 02 AFC East Championship hat. And even though they did come in first a couple of times in the old AFL before it was constructed the way it is right now. But realistically, in 63 years, that's basically really the only 2 division titles that they've really won the way the setup is.
Yeah. It's really sad when you look at it. And in the playoff drought that we're in now, 13 years now, it's unbelievable when you look back on just how long this drought has been, and just like you said, winning the AFC, it's crazy, and they have to get it done this year. I think the fan base is fed up; they're tired. I'm telling you right now, I wonder what happens with the coaching staff if they don't get this done, because I think Saleh's gone. He's got to be. If they don't even get to the success of maybe an AFC championship or a wild card, this guy's got to go now.
He'll be gone. He'll totally be gone. And I'll tell you one thing. And since last we spoke, I've done a lot of reading and, getting ready for the season. And if they do, and I do believe they acquire Adams, I'm not going from like second round get me to a second round playoff game. Once they get Adams, I'm sorry, they don't make the Super Bowl or at least get to an AFC championship game. It's a failure.
It is big time. With the talent that they have on this roster and all the hype, and if they stay healthy, especially, they're going to have to blow it up again.
And I don't want to see that. I'm being very optimistic going into the season, cautiously.
Yeah.
Because you know about injuries, you don't know about that. We all have questions about the head coach. Could he take the next step? But I'm sorry, man. I'm going out to San Francisco for that game. And the only reason I'm going out for that game, I really don't want to make a West Coast trip. But I looked at the first half a dozen games. And besides the San Francisco game, the next competitive game should be the Bills on that Monday night. Because if Will Levis, Jacoby Brissett, what's his name? Zach Wilson and Donald. If those are the projected starters, and they're probably. If we lose to any one of those 4, then we better pump the brakes because we got some problems.
Yeah, and you could smell it because Darnold already beat us in his revenge game when he was with Carolina. Imagine if Wilson takes us down in that game in Denver. Unbelievable.
Yeah. We'll beat the 49ers 24-10.
Yeah.
Patriots with 3-0, and then all of a sudden Zach Wilson lights us up for 500 yards.
Yeah. And he's the quarterback he was supposed to be for us.
Wouldn't that be funny?
It would be, and it's total jet luck. You could see it happening from a mile away. Yeah, that is crazy. And the NFL knows what they're doing with the scheduling because they know Aaron Rodgers beef with the 49ers, and he even said it today. He's looking forward to playing the Niners because it's on grass.
Oh, he said it, really?
Yeah, he said
Okay.
that today. So
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm really happy about getting the Niners early because if you get them week 10, week 14, everybody, they're the teams that they're on their stride. They're gearing up for the playoffs. They're hitting on every cylinder. Week one, you don't know what's going to happen week one. I don't care. I don't care who you are. So I think the Jets actually have a really good shot of going out there and maybe catching the 49ers. I do.
I agree, and especially they're up in the air too with Brandon Ayuk. Supposedly he wants to trade now, so who knows? He could go to Pittsburgh. They're even saying he could be traded to the Raiders, and Devontae Adams could go to the Niners. It's all up in the air as far as what's going on with that team as well, and. I think they do have a good chance, the Jets. It's all about the team staying healthy. Rodgers better make it more than 4 snaps. I do not want to see that again because that was just horrible. And as long as that they could sustain being healthy and keep the players on the field, I think anything's possible. And it's going to come down to coaching. It's going to come down to Hackett, and it's going to come down to Saleh.
I don't think it's going to come down to Hackett. I think Todd Downing's going to have more say than Hackett does, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
And once it's like, Rodgers will call the play at the line of scrimmage, but I think Todd Downing is going to have a lot to say about the offensive game plans going from week to week.
Yeah, and he should because Hackett is just not qualified. We saw that last year. Even Rodgers, even though that's his best friend, how come you're shaking your head at all the play calling from him on the sideline? There you go.
Yeah, that's the title, and you know the Arthur Smith story. They weren't bringing him here to be a consultant. He would have been the de facto offensive coordinator. So, and I told you, Downing calls the plays in minicamp. So I have a feeling he's going to be extremely involved in the offensive game plans. And I'm going to ask you this question because I've had this discussion with people, and nobody really has an answer. I don't know if my answer is crazy. Rodgers hasn't played in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's going to San Francisco. He's under center. You want him taking his first hit in the first game of the year?
That's a really tricky question because you're right. He hasn't really played. He only played 4 snaps last year, and the hit that got him ended up tearing his Achilles. Oh,
and the work he was like trying to avoid it.
Yeah,
But you see, the way I look at it, it's almost like when you shake somebody's hand, when they have workman's hands, they're calloused. When you shake a hand of a lawyer, their hands are smooth. If you know what I mean, office workers. So you don't want Rodgers going into that San Francisco game without getting hit a couple of times. But I don't want those hits coming in preseason games. Have some backup guy trying to win a roster spot and take this guy's head off. Now, in practice, the way the rules are, there's basically no hitting. And Saleh's not going to have Quincy Williams knock Rodgers on his backside. So, how do you get this guy physically prepared to get hit when you're not allowed to do it?
That is an interesting situation. I don't know. Throwing him out in the line of fire might be dangerous. I don't know. You know what's so insane is because I always have these arguments with people because they always bring this up with Rodgers. They say, well, he's too old. And I said, really? Because I remember when Brady won. Brady was like 44, 43 when he won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. He was old. Breece played till his later years. They all the top guys go out when they're old. So why is it Rodgers he's too old to play? Isn't it insane?
It's insane. And what I would do if I were the coach, and I could be completely out of my mind, but this is how I would do it to toughen them up. Once the regular, they have 2 a days. It's a walkthrough at night. It's really not a practice, it's a walkthrough. After the regular practices, and everybody kind of clears it out, all right? I take them out there, and I have passing drills. And the the blocking pads that they use, like when running backs run through and they hit the running back to knock the ball out, just to have them like get the feel of getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
I would have two defensive guys stand on each side of him, let him throw some passes, and let them just kind of hit him with the blocking pads. Not knocking him from here to kingdom come, but just a shot in the rib. But just to get him the feel of releasing a ball and getting hit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because I know it's a crazy idea, but I don't know any other way to do it and try to do it safely.
No, you're right. It's going to be interesting, and especially with his Achilles, because he's actually coming back. I know it's a year. It's going to be interesting because a lot of times Achilles, it takes longer for players to come back from that. So he's ready.
Oh, you're fading in and out again a little.
Oh, how about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's listen. I'm going into camp. I want to see once again. We're talking about. I think, and I'm going to give Saleh a little pass on this because I think it's a very delicate, fine line you're walking here. You got a lot of players, 1-year deals, injuries, of course, with the two tackles, and those are two guys right away. You think of right away. You got the quarterback coming off the Achilles. Okay, you want to get continuity with the offensive line, but yet Moses and Smith are going to be on pitch counts.
Yeah.
Okay, you got Tucker coming off an injury. He's going to be on a pitch count. You got the guy Simpson, who was injury prone in Baltimore. So I don't know how you work these guys day in and day out and get the continuity if you're kind of working them along slowly because you're afraid they're going to get hurt. I think, honestly, and I'm not crying for Saleh, I think he's in a very, very tough situation with what we're just talking about right now.
He is, especially with the injuries of these players coming back and Rodgers. Yeah, he is in a difficult position. It almost sets it up to give him a free pass to come back next year if they don't reach the expectations.
No, but I could see him. I could see him not coaching scared, but being cautious and like a softer camp that you would normally have. And I think he's run soft camps in the past anyway. But I could see it even being softer because I think you need these guys on the field to get their time in, stretch the offensive line, to get some chemistry. And yet it's such a delicate situation because you don't want Moses or Smith going down or anybody else.
No, they need everyone healthy. They need everyone to protect Rodgers because if you don't have a lineman to protect Rodgers, you're going to get a repeat of Dwayne Brown letting the guy right past him to hit Rodgers.
Well, I think Fassanu gets a lot of work this summer.
Yeah,
and you know what? As crazy as this sounds too, you got what do we got? 3 games in the first 10, 11 days of the season.
Mm-hmm.
If they're worried about Smith practicing back to back. And he's on a pitch count. So you go out to the West Coast, he plays against the Niners. Then the following Sunday, he goes to Tennessee, he plays against the Titans. If you're trying to preserve this guy, how in the world is this guy 3 days later going to suit up on a Thursday night to play the Patriots?
I don't know.
So I wouldn't even be shocked if Smith starts the first 2 games at left tackle. Fassanu shows enough in training camp where they're not concerned. And they give Smith a blow against the Patriots and Fassanu starts against the Pirates.
It's possible. I'm with whatever works. And whatever works, if it's gelling and it's working, go for it.
Because I feel as confident going into this season with this roster as I did with the 99 roster.
Mm.
And what happened to Vinny was
he went down.
But I think that's where they at. I've read about some other teams and, just cherry picking different teams we play and looking at their rosters. And I'm really hard pressed, except for San Francisco. I don't see any other team where you could say that their roster is better than the Jets.
Yeah. Especially if they get Adams too. Oh yeah. I definitely don't see that.
I mean, I'm not disregarding the Bills. I'm not disregarding the Dolphins. And both teams lost a lot of key players this offseason.
They did.
And basically the Bills have a complete new receiver group. The Dolphins lost a lot of defensive players.
Shaq Barrett too.
Yeah. So now, so I think the Jets, honestly, I think they have the best roster in the AFC.
Yeah, they do. I agree with that. As long as they stay healthy. I mean, the Dolphins, the only thing that's scary about the Dolphins is they have a good offense. But Tua's questionable. We already know he's but they have a lot of receivers, and then the running back room is pretty good. So I think you're right. As long as we stay healthy, and then if we add Adams, I think it's a lock.
Oh, it'll really, really would be unbelievable hosting a home. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and Mike Williams, like I said, if Mike Williams comes back fine off that ACL right away, they're going to be looking good there. Just Allen Lazard's the only question mark. They got to get him off this team.
Well, I think once they acquire them, I think Ben Lazard's gone.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Raiders, they know they're not going anywhere this year. Let's be honest.
No.
It's basically a salary dump because if I understood it properly, if the way it was worded is that if they traded Adams after June 1st, they take a dead cap hit money of about $7 or $8 million, but save $17 million towards the cap. So basically, this is a salary dump.
Yeah.
Now I guess they're going to have to cooperate a little with the contract. They're all, everybody's going to have to sharpen their pencil and, use their eraser. But I really would be very surprised if Adams isn't a Jet.
I would be too. The players, the way from Rodgers to Breece Hall to Wilson, it all sounds like it's a done deal. They're like, oh yeah, we would be happy to have him on board. They're all for it. It just almost sounds like it's a done deal. And I think you're right about that. I really do. I mean, when you hear from the players, it sounds like he's on the team already.
Right. Well, how crazy would it be, once they acquire him, that Garrett Wilson's your number 2 receiver? How crazy is that?
That is crazy. Yeah, because he's our number 1, and Mike Williams our 3. Yeah.
I mean, and then you got Conklin, who I expect a big year. I mean, for crying out loud, he caught 60-plus passes with those stiffs of a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
What, 75-ish or 74 passes with that bunch. I mean, if Rodgers plays 15 games, what are these guys? These guys are going to be putting up tremendous numbers.
Yeah. Oh, they will be. And I do expect a lot of production from the tight end position. They better give Ruckert more of a chance this year, too. And we don't have CJ Uzomah anymore, so they better be making some use of these guys that they have here.
The one guy, it's funny because I said this on the radio yesterday, the one guy that gives me the most interest to watch in camp this summer is Will McDonald.
Yeah, the pass rusher. That is interesting.
A high first-round pick. Okay, they let Breece Huff go, homegrown. Okay, they let him go. They bring in Reddick, who I think they bring him in because they don't trust McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
McDonald doesn't show that this guy's a legit player. That's another. Well, once again, they win the Super Bowl, nobody's going to care. But that's another strike against the drafting.
Yeah, Joe Douglas's draft picks.
Like I said, if McDonald is a stiff and they win the Super Bowl, it does. But he's got to produce. He's got to come in there. This guy's got to be he's got to be impactful player. He does. He has to be a difference maker.
He does, especially being drafted that high, and the team we didn't want him. All the fans were like, "Who is this guy?" But they went and drafted him anyway. He's got to produce.
He's 100% got to produce. But like I said, as constructed on paper right now, with everybody being injury free as of tonight that I know of, I think this team could make a lot of noise. I just really do.
Yeah. I agree. I think they can, as long as they stay healthy, and then if they get Devontae Adams in here too. I think they're going to be moving in the right direction. Some offensive line depth. I think they're going to be moving in the right direction, and they're going to have to make the moves. There's no more hemming and hawing about doing something. You got to do it now because this is this is the year. Especially if Rodgers isn't coming back, this is the year. If he is coming back, then you're looking at a 2-year window, and then that's it. But you have to look at it like this is the year.
Can't look at it as a 2-year window.
You can't.
1-year contracts that they have.
Yeah.
it's what do they call winning a bus, whatever. I'm not wording it properly, but it's either all in or not this year. This is it.
Yeah, and they better be all in.
Oh, I think by the moves they made, you could see they are.
Yeah.
And other interesting thing is that basically even camp, it's so soft, and to me, I I I hope that it's almost a must that I get out there to watch them practice against Washington and against the Giants, because that's really the only, basically, for any length of time, live action, even though it's controlled, that you're going to see from your starters.
Yeah.
Of course, you're not going to see anything in the preseason. Maybe Rodgers plays a couple of snaps in the last game like last year. I mean, are you putting Smith in a preseason game? I can't do it.
No.
So I think the controlled scrimmages, that's my biggest interest. As a matter of fact, I have two kids that live down in Carolina, and they're bugging me to come down there. I would like to go just to see Rodgers against another live team, but I don't want to make plans. You fly there and it rains and you cancel practice, and then you went down there for nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the Washington and the Giant practices, I think, are going to be really almost must watch if you really want to get a feel where Aaron Rodgers is at. There's no hitting, but they could flush him out of the pocket. He might have to move, and I think that's going to be a big step.
I agree. There's a lot to accomplish this year, and you have to take it step by step to get him back from that injury. What are your thoughts? Because he did say on the show today in his interview there that he calls the Jets the New Jersey Jets. What do you think of that?
You're all over this stuff than I am. He called the Jets the New Jersey Jets.
Yeah.
Jets?
Yeah, that's what he called them, the New Jersey Jets.
That's not good.
Yeah, no, because the Buffalo is going to use that as ammunition. He's like, I call him the New Jersey Jet. I was reading that online. Unbelievable.
Or maybe he knows something. Him and Woody know something that nobody else knows.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something up there that we're all going to be shocked about. Oh, what's your take? Did you see that? What they're going to wear for the Bills Monday night home game?
Oh yeah, I did see that they're bringing back the old uniforms.
What? But you know what the craziest thing is? So they went back by popular demand to the Joe Klecko, Gastineau, Marty Lyons uniforms, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They got rid of those Adam Gase horror shows.
Those are horrible.
Every time I look at them, I want to gag. Right? Now, night uniforms, even though most people didn't like it, I did like it. I just liked the colors. It reminded me of Roger Staubach when he plays the Navy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Jet fans that really are not familiar with these classic uniforms.
That's insane. Because we just had them a couple years ago. Before Gase got here, we had them.
Yeah, but if you're 10 years old, you never saw them.
Yeah, that is true.
So they're gonna sell. So not only, and I listen, I give them credit. It's all about money, and so not only did they clean up with getting the logo that says Jets with the the ones that they're going to be mainly wearing,
mm-hmm.
They're double dipping, and they get a cash in on the classic uniforms from the younger fans too.
Yeah. Imagine if the Titan uniforms came back.
Oh, well, you know what? It's unbelievable when it comes to uniforms in sports, and I don't really watch them. One of my grandsons was over a couple of weeks ago. I was watching the Met game, and I go down to the den, and I said, "I thought you were watching the Met game." He says, "I am," and it was a Saturday. I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "Those are gray, like tops and bottoms, gray hats." It says, "And what?" I said, "Who are they?" I said, "They're the Mets." These teams that have like multiple uniforms, It's insane. It's crazy.
It is. I just like it classic. I always like the classic uniform for any team. Just keep it original. I mean, everyone always has to switch up their uniforms for different occasions. And this is the city uniforms. The city connects. This is for this event. There's too many.
There's two now. You know, when they first did this back, I think it was 93-ish, 94-ish. They had one. If I recall correctly, there was one weekend where it was like throwback weekend, and most teams wore their throwback uniforms. And I remember one of the games was the Jets were playing a Sunday night against the Bears with Boomer and Johnny Johnson. I don't know if you were born yet at that point.
No.
And the Bears wore these ridiculous, ugly-looking uniforms that were from the 20s or 30s. But that was the one weekend you never saw them again.
Yeah.
I could deal with that. But from week to week to week, you don't know what uniform or they're different. And it's just, I can't. To me, it's too much.
It is too much. And I'm not going to miss the Gage uniforms, but I know they were calling it the classic uniforms. These are the uniforms that we knew since the Vinny Testaverde, Bill Parcells era up until when Gase came in. But I really wanted them to do the Joe Namath era logo one, because that logo is different and it's a different green.
It is a different, the Kelly green. It's a different green. Well, you know what? They'll do that next year. Some more merchandise.
Yeah.
But you know, camp's going to be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of buzz, and I'm glad Hard Knocks is not going to be there. And we'll see. You know what's really interesting though? That now Rodgers already spoke, so he kind of put a damper on the beat writers because he'll talk to them tomorrow, because they report tomorrow. So that would be the first chance, like, you know, that all the beat writers get to talk to him. But I don't know how much more he's going to say than basically what he said and what you read and heard today.
Yeah, I don't know what else he's going to say. Maybe on his performance from getting back out to camp finally, and maybe expectations. I really don't know what else he's going to say. I just think that he keeps to himself, and he goes wherever the wind blows, pretty much.
I'm just kidding around now. Would you be shocked if, like, he comes out and he says, well, I went to Egypt, I had to get there early because, nobody really knows, but I had all the receivers come out there and we practiced for a week in Egypt.
You never know with him.
All bets are off when it comes to Rodgers. And all I know one thing. I do know one thing. If things don't go the way we're hoping they go, he's going to have a lot of questions to ask.
Yeah.
To answer. I think at that point, then it's going to get very interesting. But hopefully we don't really get to that point.
No, I hope not. I can tell you this. I will not miss Zach Wilson.
No, not. I wish him well. I hope he does well. But yeah, I really can't. Like I said, before I called you, I was looking and reading. I've been reading for a couple of weeks and looking over the roster and just figuring out. I always like to play games. Who can steal somebody's spot? And it's like the roster's set unless somebody gets hurt. I don't know who's cracking this team.
Yeah, I don't know either. I really don't. Maybe the Chiefs. I don't know. Even though I think they have the advantage over the Chiefs, but when you're playing the Chiefs, you're going to be playing the officiating too.
That the officiating and the league and the gambling and all that stuff. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people might not agree with me, but I think that all of what we just mentioned come into factor. They really do.
Yeah.
The officials have just way too much say in who wins these games. And, we didn't touch base on? The new kickoff rule.
Oh, yeah. What are your thoughts on it?
I like it because if it's handled properly by the smarter teams, it's like an extra play from scrimmage. Okay. But my take on it is, if you know your special teams are average or shaky at best on the coverage units, I'm forfeiting the extra 5 yards. So you kick it out of the end zone, you start on the 25, right?
Mm-hmm.
This year, if the ball lands in the end zone, it's not returned or goes out, they start at the 30. So if I'm a head coach and a special teams guy, the conversations I'm having is, you know what? Let them start at the 30. My defense is good enough. I don't need them to do a triple reverse and catch with my pants down, and I give up a TD for a return.
Yeah. No, I think the way you described it is right, and especially with the Jets special teams. I mean, it should be improved, especially this year. I mean, they kept the punter and kicker, so I expect them to just keep it going how it was last year. And as long as Saleh doesn't make any mistakes, remember with the timeouts, that was terrible.
Please, it just you can't have. If we want to get to where we want to go, all that stuff has to get cleaned up. Everything, you can't have it because you don't see that. When Belichick had his run, I mean, I know Andy Reid, he has a couple of hiccups here and there, but Mike Tomlin teams, they just don't do that type of stuff.
No,
they just don't. And Pittsburgh's a team to watch out for. I'm telling you, just watch out for the Steelers. I mean, you got a great head coach. When I look at Russell Wilson's numbers from last year, his stats were not horrendous.
Wow.
I mean, I think he had like 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions or something on a bad team. And he didn't get along with the head coach. I expect Russell Wilson to have a big year with the Steelers. I think the Steelers. I think a lot of people are overrating the Browns because of their defense. I mean, Deshaun Watson, there's no guarantees with Deshaun Watson.
No.
And do you think Jameis Winston is going to give you a year like Flacco did last year? That was like a foot, that happens once every 10 years.
Yeah.
So I honestly, to be honest with you, I think the AFC East, you're going to have to win the division to get in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a strong possibility that the AFC North could put 3 teams in the playoffs.
It could. It really could. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, Baltimore, Cincinnati. I mean, how could you argue that neither one of them are playoff teams? Okay, Cleveland's projected to definitely be a playoff team. I don't agree. And I think the Steelers are a surprise team.
I agree.
So, 3 of those 4 teams, I think they're all going to the playoffs.
I do too. I think so. Well, let's keep it going, Ira. I mean, we got the camp here tomorrow, and we're going to be just watching along here, seeing what the press conferences are like, just the highlights of it, even though we know it's soft and everything. But it's going to be interesting to see Rodgers' development back here to camp. And, yeah, we'll just keep going from here. And, Ira, is there anything else you want to talk about before we check out?
You got 2-3 minutes real quickly?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll make it real quick.
Yeah.
So, it's funny. We're talking about coming back from injuries, especially like an Achilles, like Rodgers, right? Now, I'm not putting myself at all in any type of scenario like a professional athlete. So don't take it the wrong way. But when I was playing a lot of hoops, when I was a lot younger,
mm-hmm.
I had knee surgery on my right knee. And I remember because I was still wanted to play 3 nights a week. And, I was into it. I was in my, late 20s, early 30s. And, I got it stronger, strengthened it, did my running, did everything to get back on the court, right? And I did not feel right, and I'll never forget it. Like about 10 minutes into the first pickup game I was in, I got hit and I fell down and I banged my knee on the floor, and I was scared, you know what. And until that, I didn't feel confident. And that's why I'm so bent on however way they get him roughed up. You can't. It's just. I don't care who you are. It's just human nature. Until that thing is truly tested, you can't have confidence. There's no way.
No. It's a mental thing too. Yeah. It's you have to overcome it and be comfortable. Yeah. It's going to be a tough test to pass, and I'm going to be curious to see how they handle it.
Yep. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a fun year. and hopefully we'll talk at the end of the camp.
Yeah, we'll talk into camp. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. I'll give you a call like 2 or 3 weeks into it.
Yeah, let's do it. Ira,
all right.
Yeah, thank you for calling as always and being a part of the show, and we'll talk soon, and go Jets.
Sounds good. Go Jets. Enjoy it. All right.
You too, Ira. Take care, all right?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.